Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly COT call. Hand it off to Jason.
Okay, fun week. So COT wise, the Dow is set up. The Russell commercials are at 81. And remember, this is as of Tuesday. S&P commercials are at 89 as of Tuesday. NASDAQ is more neutral. Again, we have to keep in mind where these things came from and what was going on here. But other than that, coffee is set up. But again, I'm going to keep saying it, but all these things have issues from where they came from, truthfully. Doesn't mean ignore it, but to me, it means you need a real good news failure in order to execute it. And I ain't seeing that right now. Gold commercials are 96, but the small specs are still long. Canadian dollar is actually just about set up as a sell, although, it's up since Tuesday. So it's kind of funny, again, where it came from, and the fact that the COT hasn't really moved in basically a long time since the look back period, probably. So that's why that's showing that. Yen is set up as a sell. Never got stopped out of that. So, and that's it.
What's the index on Aussie, Jason?
77 was the commercials, 22 was the large specs, and 40 was the small specs on Tuesday. Today, I would guess it's probably a little bit different, right? What a fucking move in that one today, huh? Like, why would that one do that today and it didn't do anything yesterday? Is somewhat beyond me, although I'm telling you guys, I've seen these kind of markets before, man. And it's like, keep saying, you can throw all your indicators out the freaking window right now. And that includes my indicators for that matter. And I think in a way it includes sort of tape reading, because weird things go on in times like this. And the tape reading becomes a little bit more, I think, random, so to speak, because you're just getting liquidations all over the place. Now, I'm going to write this, I think, in the report this week. That should create some opportunities, right? If suddenly you start getting the baby being thrown out with the bathwater type of thing, then that should create some opportunities. And the way, obviously, to kind of find those is a tape, I mean, Nike today. Well, why is Nike up today? Now, you could argue because Vietnam came out with some better news. Okay, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe Nike does most of its manufacturing in Vietnam, and that's why. So maybe that's not a good one. But I'm just saying, like, this is where you can find that type of stuff. Because if something's good and it's going down just because of what's going on here, of complete liquidation type of stuff, right? Then you can find some good opportunities in it, and the market will tell you when those are. I believe the market action will tell you. But like you look at this Bitcoin thing today, this is the point I'm talking about. But like, okay, Bitcoin is no doubt had a good day today, right? And it's no doubt, in fact, had a good week relative to everything else. There's just no question about that. But again, is that because Michael Saylor's buying more Bitcoin and that's why it's not going down for now? Is it because retail money is flowing into Bitcoin and that's why it's not going down for now? A lot of times this is what happens in markets like this, right? Things hold and it's like, oh my God, it's good, it's good, it's good. And then like 2 days later, it just goes boom, right? The example being the Aussie. Like the Aussie held yesterday. And if you're looking at it, you would have been like, well, gee, that should have been super bearish, Aussie. I can't believe the Aussie's up. And then what happened today, right? They got freaking destroyed. So that's the problem with just the tape thing. But having said that, if things are super crowded and you get some kind of tape thing like that, then I think it's worth going for. But I know you guys are probably sick of me saying this, but it's just we're in danger zone here, man. This is not an easy time, but I do think we are now getting to a point where there are going to be some good opportunities. Because of this they're just throwing everything out at this point, right? They throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's sort of what we're in the middle of doing here. So that should create some good money-making opportunities from here, I believe. Might have to be a little bit patient. I'm not saying they're going to happen on Monday, but maybe. So we'll see. The Dow thing, it's set up on the index, but certainly we didn't have no news failure. So you don't have to really worry about we're going out on fucking lows here. Right. So you don't have to worry about getting logged on news failure because we didn't have no news failure, man. And I got a feeling it's going to take me a long time to write this thing this weekend because I've written down a whole bunch of different ideas and if anyone has anything what you'd like me to talk about or check into or do research on, I'll be sitting here all day anyway doing it. But I'm just trying to think of the different scenarios. I'm trying to think, A, what the hell are these people thinking? What could they be thinking? I have no idea what they're thinking, but what are the possibilities and do those make sense? And B, what are the scenarios where this could turn around, right? And I think that there's a few scenarios where it could turn around. Certainly, if it works, and all these countries come in and say, hey, you win, well, then there's going to be no price high enough to buy the stock market. That would be the greatest thing ever done in the history of American politics, I think. If they all just came in and said, okay, you win, Donald, we're going to lower all of our tariffs to zero. Please lower ours back to zero. Then that unleashes a world economy that's just going to freaking explode. And the S&Ps could be up 400 on that news on Monday, and I would buy it, quite frankly, because there wouldn't be a price high enough to buy that situation, I don't think. In particular, because of what's gone on here, right? Okay. So that's one of the only things I can really think of that's going to work. I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't think that's going to happen, but should it happen, and then that'll be the game. I continue to think in general, and I've posted the charts and other people have posted the charts. I continue to be scared. Not so much about the macro thing, which is scary enough as it is, but the idea that yesterday saw the biggest buying by retail investors in 10 years. This is exactly what we've been talking about for 2 freaking years. The danger is going to be if these people finally buy the dip. Well, here we are. They're doing it, and it's hurting them, obviously. We're down fucking, 4,000 Dow points in 48 hours, It's hurting them. I believe if ChatGPT is right, this is the first time in history that the S&P is down over 5% 2 days in a row. That's amazing to me. I never would have guessed that. I don't even know if ChatGPT has it right. Sometimes they get that stuff wrong, but that's what it said. I just searched it because I was talking to a friend about it. And clearly we've had 20% down days on the crashes and stuff, but 2 days in a row of 5% down days. Never. That's pretty amazing. But again, I think it's because people just are refusing to sell. Everyone wants to talk about capitulation, and it goes back right into maybe why you guys came here to begin with. Maybe you read my thing in Market Wizards, and maybe you thought that it made sense that I was focusing on positioning rather than price. That's exactly what's going on here. These people are focusing on price. Capitulation. Well, we're down a shitload. That's capitulation. Oh, the VIX is up. That's capitulation. It ain't capitulation to me if we saw the largest buying in 10 years yesterday, if that data is true. That ain't capitulation on positioning. Might be capitulation on price. It ain't capitulation on positioning. So I think I continue to think that it's very, very dangerous here. But again, these guys come out on the weekend and China comes out and everybody says, hey, we give up, you win, let's, then things are going up. It doesn't matter whether people bought or not, things are going up. And, that's kind of what I mean by you can throw your indicators out the window right now, because we're in a new thing here. So you're not going to use indicators that worked before in a normal thing when we are not in a normal thing here. The stock market down, the S&P down 5% 2 days in a row is not a normal thing here. It's never happened. This is not normal. Changing the entire freaking trade outlook of the entire world here is not normal. This has never happened, right? In this way. This is not normal. So you're not going to look at normal things here. April is an up month after down months, a year after an election year, 90% of the time. That's bullshit. This ain't normal. And if you look, the fun thing I like to do is you look at some of the things that people are posting here that show these type of things, 6 weeks after you have this much of a down move, it's up 90% of the time. Okay. Well, how many of those were during bull markets? I would bet all of them. And the ones that weren't up were during bear market. And that's why I was saying somewhat, I wouldn't say facetiously, but a couple of weeks ago, I was saying, are we in a bull market or a bear market? That's what's going to depend on these things. If we were in a bull market, yeah, this is a huge buy. But if we're not, then it's not, right? And that's what all these statistics will show you. Every time in history this has happened, the market's been up 6 months later, except that was all during bull market. So yeah, if this is a bull market still, then we go up. I mean, the statistics get forgotten, forget the word I'm trying to use here, but the statistical significance of this stuff, you can't just look at them like that. You have to compare them to, we're in a bull market 70% of the time. So if you tell me, hey, this indicator gets long and 70% of the time it's right, well, sure. So does every indicator that gets long is right 70% of the time, because we're in a bull market 70% of the time. So that tells you nothing. And I think it's very important to keep those kind of things in mind when it comes to this freaking data and these type of things, basically. Sorry, little rant there. It's Friday afternoon and I'm kind of riled up. The stock market did not finish well today, to say the least. Like, what the hell, man? And we're going to see what's going to go on during the weekend. Doesn't going to resign, or is, the world going to come to Trump, or it's pretty insane here. But this kind of stuff does offer opportunities, but you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Okay. I suggest you don't fight the tape. I suggest you don't pick a bottom just because the market's down a lot. I suggest you don't do those things, because over time, those things don't work. Can they work one time? Yes. But the problem is, if they work that one time, then you're going to do it again because it worked last time. It just creates bad habits, even if it works the one time, right? So trust me on this, because I've done it. You know what I mean? They call it, in one book I read, I forget, they call it faulty learning. So, okay, you bought the Dow 2 hours ago. It went up 400 points, right? Well, now it's on lows. But even if it closed up 400 points higher than where you bought it, all right, you made 400 points. That's awesome. But now you're going to want to do that all the time. And trust me that most of the time that ain't going to freaking work, as it didn't here, right? If it did work, okay, that's one thing. But it didn't work here, because most of the time that's not going to work. You can't do it, man. You can't buy the market because it's gone down a lot. I don't care what it is. And you can't sell the market because it's gone up a lot. I don't care what market it is. It's going to run you the fuck over time. I sat there for 2 years and made these videos time and time again. I'm sure you guys saw them. Stop selling fucking all-time highs. Stop selling all-time fucking highs. Stop selling all-time fucking highs. And I'm saying the same thing now. Stop buying the new low. Stop buying the new low. Stop buying the new low. These things lose you freaking money over time. They destroy your trading account. Destroy it. All right? So again, you do what you want to do, right? And I'm not right all the time, and you can make money doing other things, right? But I personally highly suggest not doing that type of stuff. There's no such thing as it's gone down too much, and there's no such thing as it's gone up too much. And if it has, the market will tell you when. That's my point, right? I had a conversation with a guy today who's buying crude. Okay, he wants to buy crude. Why? Well, because at some price, the crude price is so low that nobody is going to drill anymore, and that's going to affect the supply-demand relationship, and so the price has to go up. Does that make sense? Of course it makes sense. But why not wait for it to give you some kind of confirmation? That's all I'm saying. Just wait for the market to give you some kind of confirmation. You're not going to miss out. I promise you. You might not get the low tick, but you're never going to get the low tick. You're going to lose more money trying to get the low tick than you'll ever make actually getting the low tick. Then I didn't make that up. That's been said a million times. I forget who said it, but someone in one of those books said it. There's been more money trying to buy the low tick, more money lost trying to buy the low tick than anything else, right? You can't do it, man. I'm telling you right now, if they come out this weekend and they settle all these freaking trade things, or whatever day that they do it, if all of a sudden they start settling it, the market ain't going to be up enough. You're going to be able to buy it, okay? The S&P is going to be up 200. You could buy them up 200 if that happens, because they're going up 2,000 if that happens. You're not going to miss it. Your dollar cost averaging for your retirement account, okay. You know what I mean? You buy some here, buy some there, buy some there. That's not a timing thing, though. That's just hey, things are lower now than they were before by quite a bit. So I can put some more money to work here that I've been in cash. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that, right? But if you're trading and you're trying to time this shit, it's the best advice I can give you. Don't try to get the fucking low tick. And the second best advice I can give you, I have been through this before, man. I have seen this before, all right? I traded through the Asian crisis, which was fucking insane, all right? That was the first insane thing that I saw. I didn't trade in 87, but 97 I did when the Asian crisis hit. It was freaking insane. And the reactions and the things that happened were insane. And I talked a little bit about that in the report last week, right? And I feel like that's where we have to get to. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're going to do. Trump, knowing Trump, he'll come out, they'll ban short selling. So he might do that, And again, does that help? Yeah, it's arguable, because then you also get the other side, which is, okay, this guy is now taking away what has been the free market, right? Short selling is part of the free market. And he's not taking that away, and that's going to reduce confidence even more, I think. And we have a confidence problem here, clearly. So, but again, could he come out and do that? And could that cause a little pop in the stock market? Or, who knows what this guy's going to do, right? They're probably going to do something. But trying to get the low tech is silly. That's all I'm trying to say. I beg you, as your friend, as somebody that you are paying to help give you advice, I beg you, don't try to buy the low tech. It's a fool's fucking game, and it can get you run over. But again, This is what we saw in Hong Kong, which is why I brought it up. In Hong Kong, they didn't ban short selling. They bought every stock that you wanted to sell them. And I can specifically remember at the time. And it's exactly what I would think too. It's exactly what makes sense. Everybody's conclusion was, this is the end of the free market in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's big thing has always been, it's been a great capitalist state, right? It's always been a free market, and this is the end of it. So that's a sell. So everybody sold. And the Chinese government said, thank you. They bought everything. And when everybody was done selling, guess what happened? The market went straight up, right? Because they sold it all. So it's the same thing. If something like that happens, rather than judge it, I think the thing to do is watch what actually happens, right? Take a contrarian, listen to what other people are judging, think about what the contrarian view is to what other people are judging, and then see how the market reacts. I mean, that's what I do with everything for the most part, right? Just because it's a contrarian view doesn't mean that it works, but figure out what the contrarian view is, and then let the market confirm that contrarian view. And then you got something, right? Just being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian is trying to buy the low tick. That's what that is. And that killed me. You know, it's the only reason that I say this stuff. That's what killed me. It's a bad idea. Wait for more, no matter what the fuck you're doing, wait for the market to confirm it. I beg you. If I don't have it wrong, I was not trading when the Hunt brothers did that. But if I have it right, which I may not, we can look it up. But that is when they started putting position limits on them, right? So the Hunt brothers weren't allowed to just buy. And that's really why they started needing reporting, right? COT reporting and all that stuff, because they didn't want people to corner the market. So they limited how much one person or group could buy of any single thing. That's what that Hunt brother thing was, unless I have it wrong, but I don't think I do. I believe that's when that started. And we saw that Hershey came out a little while ago and was asking if they could go over the limits for cocoa futures, and they weren't allowed to. They were like, we're not trying to corner the market. We just need freaking cocoa. Which, of course, when they did that was the top of cocoa, which is another story altogether. I mean, you would have thought that would have been the most bullish story in cocoa ever. Hershey letting everybody know that they want to buy unlimited amounts of cocoa futures. And meanwhile, that was the top of cocoa. So, but yeah, I believe that's what the Hunt brothers story was. I mean, I was looking at these things today. It's actually incredible, some of these things that you can go back to. The SMH, you're going back over a year, right? Everybody who's bought money in the who's put money in the SMH for a year is out of the money now. That's a long freaking time, dude. And that's a lot of money that went into the SMHs over the last year. Let's face it, right? SMH was a frenzy the last year, right? Even some of these other ones, this Euro Stocks 50 is now down on the year. That thing was trading at 5,600 3 weeks ago. It's at 4,700 now. Everybody who bought into that Euro stock story that the U.S. was done and put money in euro is now getting smashed. And I always say, this is what the market does, man. It gives and then it takes away. And this is takeaway time, right? And it can be fast. You know, everyone always says it, right? It climbs the escalator and takes the elevator down. And I don't know if we're at the ground floor yet, or if we're at the second floor or the third floor, but you don't want to be standing under that fucking elevator, even if it's on the first floor and you're on the ground floor. And that's what you're trying to do if you're trying to pick the low tick, right? And you can't say it enough, and I know I've said it a lot in the last month or so, but this is different. I'm sorry, but it is. This is different, right? In so many ways. Right? There's a whole different macro regime. And I'm always like, don't trade the macro. I'm not saying get short because the macro is bad. I'm saying realize this is totally different than anything that anybody has ever seen. All right? Anyone alive has ever seen. And in so many different ways, not just because of what they've done, but because we don't even know what the fuck they're doing. Right? We don't know what their goal is. We really don't know. Right? And they're not going to tell us, you know, is their goal that they want to get tariffs or is their goal that they want to get these people to negotiate, or is their goal that they want to break the economy because they want interest rates to go down because they know that we can't afford the interest payments for very long. You know, what is their goal? We don't even know for sure. We can speculate, but we really don't know. So this is something we haven't seen. And when something we haven't seen is going on, you have to treat it as such. Okay, there will be a time it will calm down, it will go back to semi-normal, and we'll be able to play in the way that we used to be able to play. But right now, I just, and I've been saying this for a month or so, but I just don't think this is it, man. You know, this is not it, and it's clearly not it, because again, S&P's never been down 2 days in a row, 5%, 2 days in a row, ever. This is not normal. It's just not. It's not. It will be. We'll get it back at some point, but this ain't it. So I believe you have to take that into account when you're trading right now, right? No fucking time to be a hero. I mean, with this yen thing, I'm probably maybe flat on this yen trade, maybe still down a little bit of money. I mean, I don't know. I'm up on the year. I had a month in January, February, and March. I'm down a little bit in this month because of this yen thing. But I'm up on the fucking year. Am I up a lot? No. Are there people that are up a lot that are heroes? Yes, there are. But you know what? Most of those people are the ones that were down last year. It's just kind of, not all of them, but most of them, right? Because the people that were doing things last year, those things are working this year. I'm not going to cry about it. You know what I mean? I can't cry about not being down this year. You know, I can cry a little bit. I can cry that my look back on silver was off by just a small amount. And if it wasn't, then I could have gotten short silver at fucking 35 2 weeks ago and, you know, been seeing it go to 29. I can cry about that because that would have been huge, you know, but whatever. I mean, it is what it fucking is. You know, I'm just not going to cry about it. And I think that's important. This is this is a 4-month window. And what is, for me at least, a 30-year track record, right? I can go through many 4-month windows in my track record where I went nowhere. It's fine. It's fine. Do I wish I was short stocks because this was so obvious with the Trump thing and that thing, and I could have made a lot of money shorting stocks, and the Nasdaq's been lagging, and if I'd just been trading that, then I would have been, yeah, you can say all that, but that's not what I do. So, you know, anyway, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about me, but I'm trying to mean that you should think about this for yourself as well. It's not the worst thing in the world to not be killing it right here.
No, I was going to say, just to make it COT specific, there's a lot of questions that I think probably be answered either in the report or going into Sunday call. But as far as the COT, Dow is set up for next week. Are you looking for any specific events, or are you just going to see how the tape goes as far as volatility and then make a decision on how you'll handle the Dow trade, a potential trade?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been saying this one for a while too. The economic numbers are irrelevant. This is all about, he's always wanted it, Donald Trump. So we have plenty of opportunity for bad news. Okay, there ain't no shortage of bad news, right? That people want to, you know, freak out about. So yeah, we just have to see. I can't predict what it's going to be because it could be anything. Besson could freaking quit. I heard a rumor about that today. I doubt it's true, but whatever. Besson quits on Sunday. This market should be no bid on Sunday night if that were the case, right? There's bad news, right? There's no shortage of bad news in this area. So it's pretty simple to see where it is. So I think that's what we have to look for. Unfortunately, that is the driving news here. You know, we had pretty bad news overnight, I would argue, last night, right? The whole China tariff thing was bad news. But we certainly didn't news failure on it. We freaking closed on lows. Not only we close on lows, we closed down a shitload. So are we oversold? We got to be oversold here, you know. But can it bounce without bad news, without news failure? Of course it can. We're massively oversold here. But I remain very nervous, as I said last week. And if you want to fade me for being very nervous, you go right ahead. You could have faded me last week on it too. But I remain very nervous, mostly because of what we're seeing in terms of retail buying. I'm bothering everybody I know that are in the wealth management business and asking them if their clients are freaking out. And I haven't really heard a yes yet. I've heard that they're sort of freaking out, but I have not heard that they are selling. And that continues to be the theme that we've been talking about for a while here. And that goes right up until today. Are people bearish? Yes. Are anyone selling? No. Okay. There's the difference. You know, that to me is the difference maker. And that has certainly, even with the Dow arguably set up here, right? Where normally I'd be looking to buy, I'm very, very, very hesitant to do so. You know, this retail buying thing is scaring the shit out of me. Dan Nathan, and I'm going to say it again, it's not about Dan Nathan, the person. It's about Dan Nathan and what he represents in terms of consensus, right? He has the longest positions I have ever seen him have, ever, right? CPI next week, yeah. These numbers are going to matter if these tariffs stick. If we're still sitting here in 3-4 months, and we're still sitting on the tariffs that they just did, then these numbers are going to start to matter, right? Because that's where it's going to show up. The numbers that are coming out now are all pre-tariff. Anything pre-tariff is irrelevant because in my view, the entire picture is now different, right? It's completely different. The entire world picture is completely different now. So any numbers prior to this are, in my view, irrelevant. Talk to me in 2 months, 2-3 months. You know, and then these numbers start to become very relevant, right? And of course, by then, I'm not the only one that knows this or thinks this, you know? Everybody knows that the numbers theoretically should be much weaker in 2 months. So maybe by then the market keeps going down, and maybe by then everyone thinks the numbers are going to be weak, and maybe by then everybody gets short, and maybe by then the numbers do come out weak, and then the market news fails on that. There we go, right? there's the trade. But we got to wait for that, at least for economic number wise. You got to wait for it, because these numbers right now mean absolutely freaking nothing. I don't even know why they're going to report them. Quite frankly, other than they probably have to, because they mean nothing. Anything pre-tariff stuff means nothing. And like I say, we don't even know if in 3 months the tariff situation is going to be the same as it is now. Maybe they'll change this, change that. Who the hell knows with these people? We don't know what they, but we just have to stay alert and stay cognizant. That's all we can really do. I really don't know what their motivation is. There's a theory out there that the main motivation is that they're very scared of China, right? And that's what it's all about. And that's why they taxed Vietnam so much, because Vietnam is just China sends it to Vietnam, and then Vietnam sends it to the US, right? Transshipping, or whatever the hell they call it, right? So that's why they hit Vietnam so hard, because they're really just trying to hit China, right? So now the conspiracy goes, Vietnam wants to make a deal with the U.S. So the first ones to step up and say they want to make a deal. The communist leader of Vietnam, isn't that China just telling Vietnam, go make a deal, because then we can transship our shit through you. We can play hardball from China, and then we just transship our shit through Vietnam. That could be possible, and it could also be possible that the Trump administration knows this, and which is why they didn't come out and make a big deal of it. He said he spoke to the guy from Vietnam and had a great conversation, but he always says that. They didn't trumpet it as, hey, this is exactly what we're doing, and blah, 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 right? So there's so many moving pieces to this, right? That we clearly are not privy to. But all we can do is watch, listen, try and figure it out, and watch the reaction. That's all we can do. I'll tell you what, if Vietnam was making a deal where they were going to drop all their tariffs to zero today, the market certainly didn't fucking react well to that. Now, did it? Excuse my language, but the stock market certainly didn't react well to that, because we closed on the beat ass freaking lows. That wasn't very good. So I don't know what's going to get it to turn around. Is there something? Yeah. Look here again. I'm going to try and write as much as I can of this into the report this week. But what about if democracy actually works, and all the constituents of these Republican senators are going, dude, we don't like this anymore. Okay, stop, or we're going to vote you out. And then they go back and they turn away from Donald and they vote these tariffs as illegal, which they might be. Again, things all get handled in the courts. It's all basically interpretation, but one interpretation could certainly be, from what I read, is that he's allowed to do executive orders on trade if it's reciprocal. If it's reciprocal, it's allowed to be done on an executive order. So they said it was reciprocal. But then it didn't take very long for people to go through those numbers and say, this ain't nothing about reciprocal, right? They did that funny math that they did. And so if that goes to court, someone's got to make the decision. Is it reciprocal? Is it not? And if that's not reciprocal, which I think clearly you could make the argument that it's not, then they're not legal for him to do that. And it has to go through Congress. And then they're gone. Well, what if that happens? Democracy at work right there, right? What if that happens? That could happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it could. That's an option. They're already drafting bills to do it. What if they win? And they're only going to win. Obviously, they have to pass the bill. They're only going to win if they can get the Republicans to join the party. I think there already are a few Republicans that are going to join the party. I think they need 4 or 5, and I think they've got 3, at least in the Senate. So, and a little bit of pressure, from the constituents on people, and they can turn pretty easily too. So they could vote that bill and say that these freaking things are illegal, and the whole thing could go away. Imagine that. You'd have to think that'd be bullish, right? Would it be bullish? No, because then how are we going to get back to saving, America and all that, which I don't believe this was going to do anyway, but that's just me. But, then what happens with the bonds, and what happens with the deficit, and what happens with all that this was attempting to try and save in some way or another. So, but anyway, there's another option, right? There's a million things, not a million, but there are many, many things that could happen here that can change this stuff very fast. And as I say, everything about every single thing, there's no way we can know what's going to happen, but what we can know is what is the interpretation and what is the market reaction to that. That's all we can know. And let's go back to today, right? Theoretically, if Vietnam said that we will drop all tariffs against the United States, that's a huge victory. It's exactly, in theory, what the Trump administration wants people to do, right? Well, if they came out and said that and the markets close on freaking lows anyway, that ain't a good reaction. So as of today, as of right now, Friday afternoon, you can't argue that there's been any good reaction to any of this. Let's just take it from here and keep watching. My freaking 401k just lost a good 15%, 20%, or my retirement account and my kids' freaking accounts, So let's see. Yeah, we'll get more into this on Sunday. I'm sorry. on my mind the whole time. Come on Sunday. We'll have a whole bunch of more Shapiro rants to go through on Sunday, and hopefully bring your own rants too, because let's all get it out there and see what we think. There's got to be things that I know there's things I'm missing.
All right. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks.